Never mess with a bear that's high on cocaine. Welcome back to the only channel that does movie reviews. I'm Timbo, and today we're talking about the movie Cocaine Bear. And before we take a bump off this review, make sure you go down here and hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button. Not that hard, and it helps my channel grow. Thanks. Now, on to the review. It's about a black bear that, while living its best life, gets struck with that sweet white powder from the sky, which ends up sending it into a monstrous drug-fueled rampage that only those with a fear of bears can only imagine, like my wife. And to add to its rampage, we have a huge slew of folks unbeknownst to its rage. And the first act really just drops us right into the thick of it, literally. And it does it to one of my favorite songs of all time, Jane by Jefferson Starship. I like the homage that Elizabeth Banks did here by putting this song at the beginning. It's a reference, at least from what I believe, it's a reference to the movie Wet Hot American Summer, which she's also in. And then from that first act, we get some exposition of our characters, getting to know what they're up to, what's going on, and ultimately why they end up going to this forest. And all the while this is going on, we are getting some Second Amendment action, because of the bear arms. And the cast really does a great job in this film. While playing serious characters, they are still able to add that silliness to what their characters are going through in the beginning of the film, all the way to the end of the film. For me, the MVP of this movie is Margot Martindale. She's the park ranger in this movie, and she easily has the best lines out of anybody in this film. And and she had me audibly laughing the most out of all the characters in this movie. And also, I want to take time to talk about Ray Liotta. With him passing, this was, I believe, I'm almost positive this was his last film. He was made for this role. He is the drug dealer in this movie, and he plays it masterfully. He was such a great actor, and I'm really gonna miss seeing him in movies. Cocaine Bear really leans heavy on the 80s nostalgia of action movies and horror movies, and many scenes in this movie pretty much follow the tones of movies you could have seen back in the day, like Die Hard, Predator. And speaking of horror movies like Predator, this movie does not stop when it comes to showing off kills in this movie. I did not expect to see the amount of blood that ends up happening in this movie, but I'm glad that it did. Now, folks, I'm about to go into some spoiler territory. So if you are one who have already seen this movie, if you've already seen Cocaine Bear, or you're the kind of person who does not care about spoilers and you just want to know what happens and want to know my extended thoughts, stick around. But if you do want to skip spoilers, come right here and I will continue talking about spoiler-free shit. All right, time to talk about spoilers. So what I really liked about this film is, since it was a dark comedy, they really did balance that on that tightrope of making sure it wasn't too funny or too scary. But also on top of that, they were also having to deal with a film that's about when nature fights back. One example of this triad of themes is when the boy in the movie, Henry, is stuck in the tree after being attacked by the bear, and his friend Deidre's mom and the park ranger and parking inspector come out to just find him. He's so worried. He's so worried about making sure that these people don't get killed by a bear. He's letting them know, hey, run, hide, get away. There is a bear high on cocaine, and he took away my friend. Please go away. Meanwhile, the clueless park people are they're more worried about the bear. They're like, one, the black bear, it's not going to hurt us. If you just got to make sure you're intimidating enough. But two, you're in a tree, get down, and two, you're probably the one who messed with the bear, so we're putting the blame on you. These clueless acts just play well into the comedic and horror factor, and then once the bear is there, everything just kind of clicks, and these people are, you get to see how they're gonna you get to see how they react. And I think, for instance, Margot Martindale's character, she plays it perfectly. She has a gun. She probably shouldn't have a gun. She's just shooting the inspector in the movie. He's just, some other examples that kind of showcase this similarly is the scene where the cops and the drug dealer are at the gazebo and the bear arrives, as well as the scene where the forest thugs they called 911, and all this stuff happens before the bear arrives, and then eventually the EMT people get there, and it just adds to that comedic horror factor. And they do give the bear some comedic parts too. I mean, it's a bear high on cocaine. It's probably delirious, and they did an awesome job balancing all these three ideas, these three concepts of horror comedy, and I guess what would you call Nature Strikes Back genre? Godzilla. I mean, that's what it is. Nature Strikes Back. So they did a great job with that. And what got me to really root for the bear in the end of it all was the fact that it was just a mother. It was a mama bear, just protecting its cubs, doing its thing as a mom, and it gets subjected to substance abuse. I mean, it finds things in the forest like it would normally do, and it's gonna smell. That's what animals do. And sure enough, it was cocaine, a large amount of cocaine, and the mama bear gets addicted to cocaine. She likes the smell of it. So she's taking it back to her kids. She's probably gonna let the kids smell it, which they end up becoming polar bears when we find them at the end of the film. And literally, this is my favorite part of the movie, is at the very end whenever Sid and the drug dealers and the mom and the kids are all there, kind of like trying to escape the bear. Essentially, the parents, the daughter and the drug dealers and then the kids all jump off into the waterfall, into the river, into the water, and they still have Sid fighting the bear, and he gets the bear. He essentially kills the bear. But the one thing that bear had that ended up being Sid's downfall was cocaine. Cocaine bear, it's new. It's like Popeye the Sailor Man. That cocaine to the bear is what finishes the Popeye. So that cocaine falls down to the ground, splatters, it hits its face, and then the rage happens. And the bear literally climbs up the cliff, spits out the bullet like Incredible Hulk did, and the bear and its cubs just go ham on Ray Liotta. It was such a fun movie. I loved this movie, and all right, so enough spoiler talk. Let's get the rest of the people back in here so we can finish off this review. And that's how I lost my pinky toe. Good times. So all in all, this movie, in my opinion, I think, give this movie some time, give this movie a few years. This movie is going to be a cult classic. I see a lot of negative reviews right now. However, there was a lot of movies back in the day that were considered bad to the critics, and they're all-time favorites. My number one example is The Thing. It's a great popcorn flick that you can just kind of kick back, crack open a couple beers and drink, and just let your mind go into rest mode and just enjoy. In the comments down below, tell me, what kind of animal do you think would be scarier than a bear if it was inhaling that much cocaine? Let me know in the comments. To me, personally, it'd be a squirrel. And while you're down there, again, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. And right here, you can watch my latest video where I talked about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Clarence. How about that, bitch? I'm Timbo, and I just talked about that. Peace.